Toastmasters honored guest. This is speech number 4 to me. It's how to say it. And it's 5 to 7 minutes in length. And my speech topic is leading a simple life. Confucius said, life is usually simple, but we insist on making it complicated. In recent conversations that I've been having with my children, they're adults and they're out in the working force, and about their futures, I really made me stop and think about how life has become so complicated for them. How do they determine what they want to do in life? How will they be able to raise families and keep up with a hectic work schedule? To be able to afford a nice home and a good education for their children. Also recently, I went to a local restaurant, Gus's Diner, in Rolling Meadows, and it's a throwback to the 1950s and 1960s and very nostalgic. And it made me reflect on a time in which I grew up, and life was much more simple. My mom didn't work, my dad came home from work, and he spent time with the family, and weekends were for the family, and now, of course, we're hooked up to our BlackBerrys and our computers over the weekends, and late in the evening sometimes. And how has this affected our quality of life? We are constantly bombarded by the media. There's always something new that we should be finding. We never have enough. We spend too much. We have more and more, but do we really wind up having less in the long run? It seems like our lives today are we work, we go home and we watch, and then we spend. Are we involved in so many activities that we don't have time to think? Or are we purposely involved in too many activities that we don't have time to think? Is there sufficient time for our families? Do we keep Sunday as a day of rest? For some of you that are older, you may remember when on Sundays stores were not open. That was unthinkable to be out shopping on Sundays. You're supposed to be home with your families. There was a town in the United States that decided enough was enough. Their children were involved in too many activities, and they wanted to have one night that everyone in the town could spend with their families. It took them 9 months to plan one family night in this town. If we compare our lives, let's say we go back to the 1970s, and we look at how much we earn, and we account for inflation. We might look around and say, well, we have more than people did in the 50s, 60s, or 70s. Our homes are bigger. Our cars are better. But they're really not. We've just incurred more debt to have those things. I can remember growing up, I never heard of credit card debt. That was unthinkable. You know, if you didn't have the money, you didn't spend it. I can remember growing up in a home with small closets because we didn't have the number of clothes that we have, nowadays. It just wasn't necessary to have big closets. So we appear to have more, but are we truly happy? Is the grass always greener on the other side? How long can we chase that elusive butterfly of success and lead a fulfilling life? I recently became aware of an interview with Warren Buffett. Now here he is, one of the richest men in the world, and yet he leads a very simple life. He has donated $31 billion to charity. He still lives in the same 3-bedroom house that he purchased 50 years ago in Omaha with his family. He doesn't have a chauffeur. He drives himself around. He doesn't have a computer, and he doesn't have a cell phone. And he never travels by private jet, let alone he owns one of the largest private jet companies in the world. And his philosophy is to accomplish things economically. He has 63 companies, and he writes 1 letter a year to the CEOs of each company. And here are his goals. Do not lose any of your shareholders' money, and don't forget rule number 1. And he says that he does not socialize with people in high society. You would think everybody would want to hang around with Warren Buffett. Yet his favorite thing to do after work each day is just to come home and watch TV and eat some popcorn. I'm wondering if he has kids involved. That might be too frivolous. And he always says, don't show off, just be who you are. His advice to young people is to stay away from credit cards and to invest in yourself and to live life as simply as you are. He feels that the happiest people do not necessarily have the best of all. They just appreciate what they have along the way. So what can we find along the way? Did you ever see the episode of I Love Lucy, and Lucy and Ethel are on the assembly line with the chocolates, and the assembly line starts to speed up, and they're shoving the chocolates in their mouths and in their pockets and down their shirt. And sometimes I feel like we're on that assembly line, and it just keeps on getting faster and faster, and we don't know where to stuff everything. So here are some simple suggestions. Spend time daily reflecting. On our way to work, are we on automatic pilot? Are we thinking about our to-do list for the office? Or are we enjoying spring and the blossoms on the trees and the grass turning greener and the jonquils that are blooming? Respect Sunday as a day of rest. Spend more time with family and friends and less time in front of the TV. To eliminate excess, take a walk, to read daily. Don't sweat the small stuff. And hopefully as we attempt to lead a more simple life, you will also lead a happier life.